Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to jump into the Player's Handbook, and we're going to look at a second-level Druid spell, Heat Metal. I want to thank viewer Larry Anderson for the suggestion to cover this spell. Larry, thanks for the idea. So here we go. Heat Metal. It's a second-level Druid spell, which means you get it at second level. This is a nice little spell. It's level 2, range is 44 inches, so 40 feet, 7-round duration. Area of effect is special. Verbal, somatic, and material components. 4-segment casting time, and no save. By means of this heat metal spell, the Druid is able to excite the molecules of ferrous metal, iron alloys, steel, etc., and cause the affected metal to become hot. On the first round of the spell, the effect is merely to cause the metal to be very warm. And that is the effect on the last round of the spell as well. The second and sixth round, next to the second spell, this is a very weirdly worded spell, and sixth round effect is to cause blisters and damage. Third, fourth, and fifth rounds of the spell, the metal becomes searing hot, causing disability and damage to exposed flesh, as shown here. So for round 1, it's very warm, you get no damage. Round 2, you get 1 to 4 hit points of damage with no disability for the first 2 rounds. Rounds 3, 4, and 5, you're doing 2 to 8 hit points each. And if the creature affected has the metal on their hands, their feet, those can get disabled completely for 2 to 8 days. And if it's on the head, like a helmet, 1 to 4 turns of unconsciousness, or their hair might burst in flames. And then round 6, you go back to 1 to 4 hit points of damage. And then round 1, you're back to no damage. So round 7, no damage. So round 1, no damage. Round 2, 1 to 4 damage. Rounds 3, 4, 5, 2 to 8 points of damage. Round 6, 1 to 4 points of damage. Round 7, no damage. So it's definitely a peak kind of spell. Note also that materials such as wood, leather, or flammable cloth will smolder and burn if exposed to searing hot metal, and such materials will then cause damage to exposed flesh in the next round. Fire resistance or protection from fire totally negates the effects of the heat metal spell, as will immersion in water or snow, or exposure to cold, I think they mean cone of cold, or ice storm spell. The ice storm spell would have to be the hail version, or the ice storm version, not the hail version. For each level of experience the Druid casting the spell, they're able to affect the metal of one man-sized creature, arms and armor, or a single mass of metal equal to 500 gold pieces, 50 pounds in weight. So 50 pounds per level, or 1 person per level. The reverse, chill metal, counters a heat metal spell or else causes metal to act as follows. First round, no damage. Second round, 1 to 2 points of damage. Third, fourth, fifth round, 1 to 4 points of damage. Sixth round, 1 to 2, 7, no damage. And if you're in that, you could lose fingers, toes, nose, things like that. The chill metal spell is countered by a resist cold spell or by any great heat approximating a blazing fire, not a mere torch, a magical flaming sword, or a wall of fire. So you need a pretty solid heat source to get rid of the reverse of this spell. So let's unpack a little bit. The heat metal is a spell that's not going to do you any good for the first round after it's cast. So it takes you 4-segment casting time, and I note which segment the spell actually goes off, and then 1 round after the spell goes off is when the damage starts, and that's 1 to 4 points of damage, and then 2 to 8, 2 to 8, 2 to 8, and 1 to 4. So it doesn't seem like you're getting a tremendous amount of damage until you consider that this will also cause the items on the person's body to start bursting into flames. So if they're wearing clothing, say they've got a helmet on, their hair is under there, they could catch incidental fire beyond the fire caused by the spell. So I rule it as if they were on fire because of the spell. Once they're in the phase, round 3 of the spell, I start giving an additional 1 to 8 points of damage on top of this damage for any smoldering, now burning items on their body, such as leather. Well, I know that has a fairly high combustion point, but clothing, hair. I give them an additional 1 to 8 for the meaty rounds of this. So third, fourth, and fifth rounds, I give them an additional 1 to 8. So at my table, it's 2 to 8 points of damage from the spell itself, and then another incidental 1 to 8 for the stuff that's actually on fire caused by the searing heat. This spell is great if your druid has an opportunity to kind of surprise an opponent where he gets into an area the opponent doesn't know he's there. Maybe he's under a cloak of elven kind or a ring of invisibility. He can go ahead and start casting this spell, and then by the time the heat's coming up, the rest of the party can burst in and attack them. I have actually seen this spell used at my table to that way, and it works to great effect. The creatures that are fighting with metal swords can't hold the sword, and if they're wearing metal gauntlets, they say, "Oh, well, that guy can hold it." Well, your gauntlet's also, smoking hot too. So now you've got the additional problem with the gauntlet. You've got to get off your hand. So they become so hot and damaged by this spell that I have it affect their armor class as well. I take away any movement bonuses for any dexterity or anything like that. I also take away a shield simply because they are so distracted by the fire. So this can be a devastating spell, and it's only a second level spell, and you get it at second level. So the tremendous effect of this spell can be completely debilitating if it's used properly. If you try to cast this into combat, that's fine, but you better be ready to keep this guy busy for 2 rounds. Round 1, where nothing really happens. Round 2, he takes 1 to 4. Round 3 is where the meat of the spell really starts. I would definitely have some kind of other plan to keep this guy busy for the first 2 rounds, or hopefully be able to survive his attack. Now we take a quick look into the Dungeon Master's Guide for the notes that are in here for this spell. And we see heat metal is right here, and it says Elven Chainmail is not subject to this spell. All Ferris-based magic armor is entitled to a saving throw versus magical fire. If the save is successful, the heat metal spell does not affect it. So if your guy is wearing +1 plate, carrying a +1 sword, and you go to throw the heat metal on there, be ready. He's going to get a saving throw. And I give a saving throw based on the plus of the armor. So if it's +4 armor, he gets +4 to that saving throw. And if he makes a saving throw, it's not affected. And if he's wearing Elfin Chain, that is not affected by the spell either. This section of the Dungeon Master's Guide is great to kind of cross-reference different spells. So there you have it, heat metal. Definitely a situational spell, but definitely a very good spell. One that your druid can use to good effect at very low level. Again, he gets this second level spell at second level. So it's one that he can introduce early and use often, but you've got to be careful when you get to be higher level that your big bad evil guy isn't wearing magical plate or isn't wielding a magic sword. Now, if he's got normal plate on, but he is wielding a magic sword, the sword gets a saving throw, but the plate would not. So he's still bothered by all the searing and burning, but he might not be forced to drop the sword. He would be ineffective at my table to fight with the sword because of all the pain he's on from the blistering heat, or pain he's in rather for the blistering heat, but I would not make him drop the magical sword if the sword made its saving throw. So there you have it, heat metal. Larry Anderson, one of my viewers, I want to say thank you for the suggestion for this video. And there you go. So any suggestions you might have for videos, I'll definitely consider them. Go ahead and let me know. And also take a look at the Patreon, see if you can help me out there. Like and subscribe to the channel. Leave any kind of comments that you need. And that's all I've got for today on page 121. Thank you for your time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.